Then. At this time, we will now invite the Honorable Garfield Green, Custos Rotulorum for the parish of Manchester, to lead us in prayer. Custos Green. And so I'm not seeing Custos Green. I'm not certain if he's having some challenges. And I'm not a pastor, but I like to say I would love to lay my hands on someone, and I will go ahead to do so. I have Miss Daisy Miller from the Ministry of Justice. I would like to invite her, please, to lead us in prayer. Thank you. Miss Miller, are you hearing us? Unfortunately, or fortunately, we're not hearing Miss Miller, so I can only lay hands on myself. And so I'll ask you to kindly bow your heads. Heavenly Father, as we come before you this evening, we'd like to thank you for another blessed and beautiful day. We thank you for the rains that you have showed us with. We thank you for this opportunity to be able to gather and to sit together and hear words on the direction of our police force and how we, as justices of the peace, has a role to play. Thank you for allowing us to be here. We praise your name. Amen. Justice of the Peace, I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the Ministry of Justice, a very warm welcome to the second virtual Justices of the Peace sensitization session for the fiscal year 2024-25. It is a ministry's pleasure to invite your participation as we encourage justices of the peace to keep abreast on knowledgeable and current developments in the law, government policies, and services. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our Minister of Justice, our Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Grayson Stuart McFarlane, Custos Rotolorum for Manchester, the Honorable Garfield Green. I'm not sure if he's able to join us as yet. Custos Rotolorum for the parish of St. Andrew, the Honorable Mr. Ian Forbes. Other Honorable Custodies Rotolorum, the Commissioner of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake. Other members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Ministry of Justice personnel, you are justices of the peace, and members of the media. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, we just want to remind to allow for a smooth process this evening. A few protocols. All mics must be muted. During the question and answer, we are to use a raise hand feature and await acknowledgement. For the questions or comments that you may have, you can post it in the chat, or you may record your question about 20 seconds or less and submit that recording at the WhatsApp number 876-247-0846. Our ministry personnel will pick it up and we will try to play it so that the commissioner can respond to your question. For those who are not able to join us, you are invited, or you can advise persons who are trying to join us and they're not able to, that they may join the live stream that is being produced by the PBCJ, or you may go to the MOJ's YouTube website to see this session. A few reminders. JPs are reminded that the Ministry of Justice still offers numerous social justice services such as restorative justice, child diversion, victim services, expungement, mediation. So please contact us if you need more information at AAA Justice. And JPs, if you have not filed your annual report for 2023 with your custos, it is not too late to do so. Please go ahead and file your annual report. Having said that, I would like to invite the Honorable Ian Forbes, Custos Rotolorum of St. Andrew, to bring greetings. I'm hoping that he's online now as well. Custos Forbes. We're Senior Custos Forbes. Mr. Hofstede, can you see how best we can assist Custos Forbes? I think he might be having a challenge in unmuting.
Can I be heard?
Yes, we're hearing you now, Custos Forbes.
Thank you very much. I've been on. Yes. Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice. Dr. Kevin Blake, Commissioner of Police. Grayson Stuart McFarlane, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Justice. This is Julia Moncrief Wigan, Director Public Law and Restorative and Preventive Justice. Fellow custodies, I heard Custos Green's name mentioned, and I presume we have other custodies online. Fellow justices of the peace from St. Andrew and across the island. Other persons on the platform, other members of the team from the Ministry of Justice. Good evening. Good evening, all. Providing justice, transforming lives. The thrust of the Ministry of Justice in providing justice within the communities. It is indeed a pleasure to bring you greetings on this occasion, very important occasion, with the theme An Evening with the Commissioner, Jamaica's Police, and the JPs. I'd first like to commend the Ministry of Justice for the proactive approach they have taken with respect to providing justice, transforming lives within the communities. And sessions like these help to facilitate the development, the capacity building of our justices of the peace in terms of being provided with the requisite information to treat with the public we serve on a daily basis. What better stakeholder could we have this time than one of our major stakeholders, the constabulary, and to have the commissioner, newly minted commissioner, interacting with us this evening, a privilege. Commissioner, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. And this is not the vote of thanks, but let me belatedly congratulate you again on ascending to the very important position of Commissioner of Police. We know the challenges are many and varied, but we know that you are up to the task to ensure that the proactive approach continues, the modernization, the transformation of the constabulary continues. But let me not take up any more time. I just like to say welcome all, and I implore everyone to participate fully, particularly when it's opened up for question and answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Custos. Unfortunately, our Minister of Justice is engaged at another event, and so he's not able to join us, but he has left his message with me and he has asked me to read his message. So on behalf of the Minister of Justice, I'd like to read his message to you. JPs, I'm still engaged elsewhere and unable to join you at the beginning. I thank Commissioner of Police Dr. Kevin Blake for joining us today and to share his thoughts on how JPs across Jamaica can partner with the police to secure peace, maintain order, and ultimately improve the quality of life in our communities. We have over 10,000 JPs serving our citizens and delivering outstanding voluntary service. We expect at least a dozen JPs to make themselves available to every local police station to support the police in witness statement, identification parades, and ensuring the constitutional rights of detained persons are respected. JPs and Jamaicans should appreciate that Jamaica's crime problem cannot be solved by the government and the police alone. The support of our citizens are vital. JPs are well placed to interact with the citizens in communities, to partner with the police to expose, identify, and apprehend offenders. JPs are urged to appreciate that a pivotal role is that of working closely with the police in its fight to reduce crime and violence. I hope this evening our Commissioner of Police can identify ways and means that JPs can partner with the police to make Jamaica safer and more secure. Please engage the Commissioner with your questions, suggestions, and/or recommendations, and have a great and informative evening. This is a message that the Honorable Delroy Chuck wishes to deliver to you. And so we're at that point in time where I would like to introduce Dr. Kevin Blake to you. It has been dubbed an evening with the Commissioner of Police. as Custos Forbes indicated, newly minted Commissioner of Police. And I would like to also add Justice of the Peace. Dr. Kevin Blake, thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Let me first thank you and the Ministry of Justice for organizing this well needed and most relevant session. I was talking to my team here and was saying that I wish it was in person, where we could have some interaction and actually, feed from the expression of the persons and stuff as we present. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to say. I basically I'm struggling with where to start and how to shape the presentation and still leave enough time for discussion, because I'm listening to you and looking at the agenda. I suspect that the 1 hour that we have, which is a very short time, much of it we want to spend in answering questions and interacting and stuff like that. However, it would be remiss of me not to share some perspective with you first, and I want to do so by way of a presentation. I must warn you though that it is a presentation that I do from time to time that can take up in excess of an hour. And so bear with me as I try to rush through it so that the points I'm trying to make will be made. However, I can have it summarized so that it leaves time for questions and interaction. So if I may be permitted, I could share my slide, if that's okay. Okay. Are you seeing my slide?
Yes, I'm seeing your slide.
Excellent. Let me see now if I can get this slideshow going. I suspect it's in presentation mode.
Yes, it is.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, just bear with me a little bit to switch my screen. Okay, so once again, thank you very much. And I'll run through this presentation as quickly as I can. Okay, so I'd like to start my presentation from here. This is a quote by a famous novelist called Marcel Proust, and I find this very interesting. Much of my presentations start right here because of the profound message that is being sent in this. And it says the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. And my interpretation of it is that, people, the nature of people is that we always want to achieve and achieve more. And so we tend to seek greener pastures. We tend to find where things are as we would want them to be. And unfortunately, sometimes we do that rather than making things the way they should be. And so, it is also very relevant to us in the JCF with our transformation journey. And so we have had persons, leaving this beautiful country for greener pastures, seeking new landscape. But, we have to ask ourselves the question, what could Jamaica be if we look at Jamaica with brand new eyes? How can we look at what we have? And likewise, our organization. I know the JCF at one point had a reputation on what persons, how persons described the JCF back then. It caused persons to go out and seek new landscape. Well, our transformation is is basically guided, motivated by this idea that rather than seek new landscape, why not view what we have with different lens and make it what we want it to be. And so that's the whole theme of the discussion I want to have this evening. And so we look at green pastures, we talk about greener pastures, that this new landscape, what do we mean relative to what we do? We're talking about a greener pastures, what does it look like? It's a place where justice and safety exists. It's a place that experiences economic development. It's a place where we have developed social structures. And it's a place where our youths are not at risk and are engaged. Right? So this is the greener pastures. Are we there? Is this what we're experiencing in Jamaica? Is this what we have seen over the number of years? If the answer to that is no, or not yet, then it means therefore we need to make the pasture greener. We need to view the potential of our country through new lenses. But how do we get there? Right? So we have to look at, there's no one agency, no one entity that has full responsibility in creating that environment that we just described. So it requires collaboration between various branches of the different communities and different branches of government and different state agencies. But for that collaboration to take place seamlessly, we have to understand each other's role in this ecosystem that we call public safety and justice, right? And for us to have that, we need to understand each other. And so my presentation today is to try and achieve some amount of that understanding between the two entities, the JCF and the justices of the peace. And I must say to you, being a justice of the peace myself, a junior justice, I have to decide during the presentation which hat I'm wearing at this point in time. But I must say I'm a proud justice of the peace. I don't think there are many achievements that I've had that can compare with me being a justice of the peace. And so this is so that this partnership is important, and it's important that we understand our various roles. And so the role of the justice of the peace, I don't look at that justice of the peace as an individual that signs documents. Right? A justice of the peace is a judicial officer, but their role is way beyond signing a document. Right? And they are integral to justice in communities. And so, in discussion prior to this meeting with my team, I was indicating to them that when a justice of the peace signs a form for a passport or verify a photograph, you're not just signing a form or verifying a photograph. What you're doing, you're protecting the integrity of an immigration system of a society. And I use that example because it is so profound. A passport, that document that's called a passport, it's basically an unwritten contract between your state and various other states, various other countries, saying to them that the holder you see of this document that has Jamaica on it is produced with a system that is beyond reproach, which is highest level of integrity. And so the risk to your country by giving access to this individual is low. So there's a lot of faith that is placed in that document called a passport. And so, and it is so not only because of the mechanism and the system and the processes that they use to print the passport and ensure that it's not easily tampered with, but also because the holder of that passport has gone through a system that may include the authentication of that document by a justice of the peace. And so it's a very, very, very important responsibility, way beyond just signing a document. And if you take a justice of the peace signing a document for an individual who may need to conduct business with a bank, again, it is not just signing that document, it is actually protecting the financial sector. Because just imagine that type of authenticity is not there. and persons were able to take fraudulent documents and stuff to the bank and achieve loan, you can have a major breakdown in the financial sector. So it's a very serious responsibility. It is that this sign of documents. And so we want to look at ourselves not just as delivering services in that field, but also as partners in the whole business of nation building and public safety, right? The justice of the peace are custodians of community justice. Again, it looks very similar to our district constables program that we have, where you represent the first line of contact within the communities, right? Many of the challenges that we face today in crime and violence, when you study these and look at the genesis of some of these conflicts, they begin right in the community with conflicts. Sometimes, if intervention had taken place at that level, then they wouldn't have evolved into situations that are giving us challenges today. And gangs have actually formed out of very minor conflicts like these. And so justice of the peace, likewise the police and our district constables, they have a critical role where that is concerned. I mean, protectors of individual rights goes without saying, right? Individual rights, every citizen of this country, or justice of the peace. And I must give credit to the performing justice of the peace. As a police officer, I know how meticulous you can be with respect to looking at the well-being of persons in our custody, in our lockups. And so, you know, this is one of the responsibilities that justices deliver quite well. We also have to look at justice of the peace as that agency that bridges the gap between the public and law enforcement, but not just the public and law enforcement, but the public and the state, right? And so it's some awesome responsibility. So that is the justice of the peace. Now that we understand the justice of the peace, and we know that to achieve these things that of which we just spoke, we need to collaborate. We operate in an ecosystem, each agency, and each agent represent part of a well-oiled machine. And if they don't work seamlessly together, then that machine will not function. So this collaborative approach is very important, so much so that one of our key strategic priorities is our stakeholder engagement, right? And you know, we see justices of the peace as one of the most critical stakeholder, one of those stakeholders that directly impact things we do, our operation, and the successes that we aim to achieve. Right? So it is as key stakeholders, we must know each other, and we must understand each other, and we must work together for the safety and justice of all. There's a saying that says divide and conquer, and I believe if we believe in the truth to that, then it means therefore if we come together, then we must conquer, right? And so that's it. That's the whole approach that I think we need to look at, right? So we talk about the strategic partnership with Justice of the Peace at the JCF as a key priority for the JCF. What this does, it strengthens partnership with stakeholders. You know, our stakeholder engagement priority aims to strengthen partnership with stakeholders, as I mentioned earlier, like Justice of the Peace, which is critical. Also, the collaboration with JPs enhances community trust in law enforcement. Right? It enhances community trust not just with law enforcement, but also with the state itself, which is a critical component in the delivery of security services and public safety services. Also, our strategic partnership support. It supports the JCF's focus on justice, transparency, and public safety. And JP serve as vital intermediaries, ensuring that community concern needs are addressed, which is basically much of what we were talking about earlier. And so, this basically is our perspective of what JPs represent, Justice of the Peace, and what it represents to us, and in the partnership between us and the JP, and how it can be improved to deliver that common service and that common objective that we share. I'm going to quickly run through the JCF itself, what we want to do. So, I mean, as partners and as stakeholders, it's important to understand the JCF. And at some point in time, when we have a much longer session, I'd like to delve a little deeper into this business of transformation that we are currently going through in the JCF. Now, I'm sure you'll have heard the talk about the JCF, transforming, and what is transformation, what we're doing. Much of it you hear about technology, and much it sometimes would appear as if transformation has just started just a few years ago. However, transformation in JCF had begun long before now. Right? I have a series of areas of commissioners of police advancing transformation over a period of time. And so it started, my account here, it started before 1998, but my account is as at 1998 under then Francis Forbes, who established the Corporate Strategy Coordination Unit, and that lasted between 1998 and 2003. Every commissioner that follows maintained effort in transforming the JCF. The challenge we had, however, is that transformation, the responsibility was vested within a level, not at the strategic level. And so when a commissioner comes and his priority may not necessarily be one of transformation, whilst the process has never stopped, the level of effort within that process varies depending on which commissioner it is. And it continues through Lucius Thomas, then Arlie Lewin, then we have Owen Ellington between 2010 and 2014. And as you notice on the slide, as we move from left to right, the names keep changing. The name of the formation and even the position of the formation within the organization getting more strategic, until finally we have the Planning, Research and Development branch that was established when Noble Grant, Deputy Commissioner at the time, acting Commissioner of Police in 2016 and stuff. So we found all that happening, so we had transformation taking place. However, the fact that the transformation was vested at such a low level during the tenure of Major General Anthony Anderson, we invested the responsibility of transformation in that of a portfolio officer, which is a Deputy Commissioner of Police. The problem we sought to solve is that when you have a new Commissioner of Police, the effort in transformation will continue apace. And so we continue. We're transforming an organization which is 157 years old with close to 18,000 sworn and unsworn members with entrenched culture. You have to ensure that the process of transformation continues across various commissioners of police with equal or more intensity. And so what are we talking about when we talk about transformation? All right, so we have our transformation is captured in three basic categories, three basic areas: our people, our quality, and our technology. And we believe that once we cover all three areas, we should be on our way to get the organization to where we want it to be. So our people, quality, technology. So the rest of the slides I'll be showing you quickly is around these three elements. How do we, when we talk about transformation from the perspective of our people, what do we mean? And the first thing, there are two elements to transforming with respect to our people is one, to get the number of persons that we require, and then we look now at the quality, looking at the quantitative side of it, which is a number that we want. We have an establishment now of 14,091 sworn members. For the first time in recent history, in recent memory, we are currently operating at our establishment. So we had embarked on an extensive recruitment project over the last 4 years to get to that. And so we are there now. So getting the numbers, getting the accurate number is the first element. And then from there, we now look at, now that we have the number, how do we train and develop our members for the quality of service that we wish to deliver. There are some other things here that we will speak about at some other point in time. For example, our expert system based on mathematics that is used, or establishment model that is used to determine the number of police that is required in the force is a mathematical model, an expert-based system that was developed by the JCF. This is something that has been attempted by various law enforcement organizations right across the world, and had never been successful, where we use several variables, 4 variables in particular, and using mathematics to determine the accurate number of police that the JCF wants. And so no longer are we talking about needing more resources and can't say how much more resources we have relative to what we need relative to what we have. And so we did that, and it informed us of a number, and we're working with that. So we spoke about the number of persons. The next thing is the quality of training. And so we have significantly revamped our training to the extent that our National Police College of Jamaica has achieved several accreditation. So tomorrow we are being awarded, a ceremony, we are being awarded one of the most prestigious accreditation for police training academy. Of the over 300 and some academies that exist in this side of the world, only 34 academies have ever achieved this accreditation called IDLS. And JCF is one of that 34, and they'll be awarded tomorrow morning in a ceremony. And so this is the result of revisiting and revamping how we train our members, how we treat with the quality. And so we have the philosophy of training. We have 2 basic philosophy, transformational and competence-based. Transformational meaning, if I pull you back to the first slide from the quote from Marcel Proust that speaks to looking at your situation through new lens. And this is what transformational training require. How do you have your members see things differently and see themselves as part of the training, of the change? Competence-based, because we are the police officers, so we do, and so we have to embark on vocational type training, where we not only train persons in academically, but we also test to ensure that knowledge or training include the assessing to see whether or not knowledge learning has taken place. So it has to demonstrate knowledge. And so those are the 2 philosophies that guide our training and development. We also look at the issue of career path. And so traditionally we have training programs generally and promotion generally for all police. And so it doesn't matter. We have probably more career path than any organization in this side of the world. Right? We have persons. This office that I'm sitting in is a 4th-floor building that was built by police officers. We have probably the largest construction company. We have probably the largest law firm in Jamaica. We have the most sophisticated IT company in Jamaica, our technology branch, with the high skill set, highly certified persons. So we have police officers that not only sit in a patrol car and do patrol, but actually do things that will be considered the non-traditional general policing. And so because of that, we have to ensure that our system of development and training incorporate these individuals, and so that we have police who are electricians. and they have worked as electricians in the JCF for 20 years, not doing anything other than electricians. And so we developed our training around these particular career path and establish pathways for upward mobility for them within their respective domains. This is just a slide quickly looking at our journey towards accreditation in our NPCJ, National Police College of Jamaica. And so there are two types of accreditation. We look at institutional accreditation and program accreditation. Now, institutional accreditation is when the entire NPCJ is accredited, and any program that we develop and deliver is accredited. Now, that's a longer term, medium to long term, and we are on that journey. But we're getting there by aiming for program accreditation for each of the programs that we have developed. And we have achieved it for some. We have achieved it for some. So there are three basic categories of training that we have in the JCF. The first one is our basic training, and this is when persons are civilians and enter the organization. We train them to become police, which is called the basic training. Then we have an in-service training. So whilst you're a police, what the training that is required to help you to carry out your function, and also then we look at the supervisor training. All right. So far we have our basic training has evolved into general policing level 3, right, which is equivalent to NCT vet level 3, and our in-service advanced post-basic level is a new training program which is equivalent to the NCT vet level 4, and we're getting our supervisory training, which is now a management level, level 5 equivalent. At the time of this, when I was preparing this presentation, we're not yet there, but we're getting there. Now, the next step is to get our UCJ, University Council of Jamaica accreditation, which we are actively pursuing and very, very close to getting there. I think we're at stage 9 of 10 stages in order to achieve this accreditation. At such point, when someone leaves the institution or NPCJ from in-service training, basic training, they will be given a diploma, an accredited diploma. After in-service training, an associate degree, and after the management training, they will be given bachelor's degree. All right. So that takes care of all the rank and file from constables all the way up to inspectors. And for officers, we have two main programs of training, and these are revamped training programs. One is our command course, which has been revamped to become the Occupational Advanced Diploma in Police Command Leadership and Management. Again, that's one of the programs that will be accredited, and we're currently doing a study to rebuild the highest police training course in the Caribbean that we have been offering for many years now, which is a strategic command course, which will and so in building that out, we are now running somewhat of a pilot or an experiment with the Delaware State University which is a master's program in police strategic management. And so currently we have 32 participants on that. From this, we will tailor in our own MBA in police leadership and delivering that. But for now, we're doing it in partnership with the Delaware State University. Right? Tactical training, we are training our fighting force, our operational support team. Over the last 5 months, we have trained over 600 members at a cost of several $1 million per month to develop these members to the level of level 2 tactical, and we continue to do that training, and we have been deploying them right across. And these type of training are training that takes place within the real world, within the same space that they operate and stuff like that. So it's a highly contextual and within that. Let me move quickly through. I'll just skip through the issue of promotion. That is being revamped, but that will take me a long time to go through. Still on the issue of people, the infrastructure that we put people within which to work. And I want to stay here. I don't want to skip this one. I'm going to go through it fast, but because we know the interest that we have as justice of the peace, yeah, saying we as justice of the peace, that we have as justice of the peace with respect to our infrastructure and particularly our lockups and stuff like that. You know, it is important that we share with you what we have achieved and what we've been doing over the last couple of years. And so up to the preparation of this presentation, which is probably a month or two old, we had 141 projects that we have completed in collaboration with the ministry, NHT, and also our own property management and maintenance division. Of these 141 projects, 128 were renovations. And we're talking about major renovations. We have templates of police facilities that every one of our renovation must be renovated to that particular specification. And the new facilities, we do have templates where they're built as police facilities with the basic requirements. For example, the traditional police station has this big counter where someone comes to make the report and have to be speaking to the individual, the officer, over a counter with people in earshot. So what we're doing for all facility that we have either renovated or built must have an interview room, a separate space for that to take place. We have gone deep in this to the extent that we even study the colors and their impact on persons when they come to the facility. So the colors that you see in the police station, inside the police stations themselves, are not coincidental. They are deliberately selected because colors have an impact on persons. And we are mindful that usually persons who come to the station are there because of some traumatic experience. All right. We have 6 new constructions completed over that period and 7 domestic violence intervention center. And that those are what have been completed. And we have in progress now 26 renovation projects currently in process as we speak. And we have 12 construction projects that are in the pipeline. And I say in the pipeline because the process that you have to go through in procurement, including the PIAB, the Public Investment Assessment Board, and the Ministry of Finance, and the PIMC, the Public Investment Management Committee. So we have to satisfy these committees before approval can be given to develop a proposal for these projects. So we're talking about some huge, high, very expensive projects. And so 12 of those are in the pipeline. There's basically just a few stations, brand new police stations that are being built for this fiscal year. Not sure that all will be completed within the fiscal year. Here we have the Westmoreland Divisional Headquarters, which is to a tune a cost of a budget of $2.75 billion. This construction on this has started and it is expected to be completed in 2027. We have groundbreaking schedule for the Specialized Operation West, which will be constructed at over a couple of fiscal years, but it will be at the end of it a total of $11 billion in projects. So the approval has been done. The pre-construction stage we're in as we speak, and we have approved budget of $2 billion for this fiscal year to complete that. And this is taking operational capability in that side of the region, which is our current mobile west. And this is where you see the OST people and the SWAT and all of that. Those persons who, you know, the hardline fight take the hardline fight to criminals. Here, let's run through these quickly. These are just some before and after stations that we have renovated, many of which I have spoken about. And these are among some of those that I've spoken about, some before and after. This is a CIB office. This is what the CIB office is look like on the left. On the right is what we're moving towards. So we're slowly converting and renovating most of the CIB offices to more modern looking facilities. And these are just, as I said, just some examples. Another area of people that we focus on a lot heavily is our welfare and well-being. Very heavy focus. So our welfare was a unit, a staff function within the commissioner's office. But we have evolved welfare. We're evolving welfare and wellness. We're merging our medical services branch. You know, medical services branch is a branch that has, you know, several medical doctors, various specialization, stuff like that. So we're merging that and our welfare to create a welfare and wellness branch, and that is actively being done. I'm looking at my watch and I realize that I'm not even quarter way, so I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop at people. We have a quality next, which is our ISO 9001, just to show you this slide.
Commissioner,
yes.
We are very much mindful that you do have a lot to share with us. So we are at your service, so you can go ahead and we see how far we can get, but we should be able to go beyond the 1 hour. I'm certain, and the JPs can indicate by thumbs up that they're all very much interested in what you have to say, and so they are in full agreement if we do go over the 1 hour schedule.
Okay, great, excellent. Thank you so much. You're very kind. So you know, it's kind of difficult presenting and not seeing your audience, and then the mic is muted, so I'm not hearing any other snores. And so I don't know how much you're with me. I see that
they're very much with you, Commissioner. We are using the emojis. So you're seeing thumbs up, you're seeing claps in terms of areas of achievement and so forth.
Excellent.
So if you look at the screen, you'll be seeing it streaming. They're very much engaged and with you.
Excellent, excellent. Yes. Well, that's good to know. Thank you so much. All right, so but I still will go through as quickly as I can, so that we can get as much in as possible. Internal communication, and as I said before, when we have this presentation, even with our members, because we have to bring our members up to speed, this area, just this one slide, can take us half the day. And so the whole issue of communication, you know, is something that one of the first things that we decided that we need to turn around. There are so many good things happening in the organization. You know, every time someone gets the opportunity to be embedded within the organization, there's a complete different perception they leave with than what you hear on the street. And I keep saying that the fault is ours. We need to communicate better. We need to tell our own story. And as a result of that, we have embarked significantly on this area of communication, so much so that last year we won the media marketing award for the entire country and stuff. Police force achieving that is not something that you hear of very, very often. And so, and I'm sure many of you would have seen our social media page and our activities. We realized early that sometimes the traditional media has their own priorities and not necessarily your priority. And so your story is sometimes, we can't afford to outsource the telling of our story to others. And that's why people really don't get to know who we are as an organization. And so this area is a very important one to us. but not only for external communication, more importantly, our internal communication. We found ourselves sometimes our own members are hearing about things about the JCF when everybody else is hearing it. And so we have turned that around significantly, where we have to ensure that when we go out and say, we, the JCF, are doing X, Y, and Z, that every last member in the JCF know that constitute that we knows exactly what it is that we're going to do when the public knows about it. We can't afford for our members to be spectators. And so this is something that we're pushing with. So if we move now to the area of quality, which is really our quality management system. We are one of 4 police forces in this side of the world that can boast the achievement of ISO 9001. Police forces really do not go for ISO 9001 because ISO 9001 requires some amount of predictability. And so you usually find places like manufacturing, business, banks, and stuff like that where it's predictable. Where if you have a machine that produces cases of an item, and it can produce 1,000 cases within a particular time, unless something is wrong with the machine or something is wrong with the environment, you can rest assured that you're going to get that 1,000 cases each day. With banking, if you have $100 and put it in an instrument that yields that has a 10% yield over a period of time, at the end, at the maturity, try as you may, you will get $110. So those predictability exists in banking and in manufacturing and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury in policing. So we sit and we plan and we organize. But what do we plan for? We plan that people will behave themselves. We plan around people's behavior. We plan that people won't decide to go and kill, decide to go and rob. And so there's no predictability in that. Right? And as a result of that, police forces really do not, or any entity that delve in the social, don't really go for ISO 9001. They use other measures. But we were audacious and I bit bold and we took it on. And so we are one of 4 police forces. And the other 3, we're talking about just a small, ISO 9001 is something you can scope your organization. You don't have to do the entire organization. You can do sections of the organization and a subset of your services, and that is the scope. And so many of our the other entities who would have been so certified are certified a very much smaller scope than we have. And this slide here basically shows the process that we have to go through in order to achieve ISO, the entire process. Now here we have at the top right hand corner are the 5 services that have been certified for crime investigation service, patrol and emergency response, intervention services, delivery station services, that are things like accident reports, etc. Intervention services are things that you see coming from our community safety and security branch. And it is really the social side of what we do and things. So the community engagement, community walkthrough, stuff like that. And then the issuance of police reports, which is under the Criminal Records Office. And so we have 21 sites that have been certified ISO 9001, 11 core sites, and the core sites are those sites from where services are delivered. And so you go to a police station because someone robbed your chain, and so you need investigative services. So these are the core sites. To your bottom left corner, we have these stations. The support sites are those sites that provides you with the necessary resources and tools to deliver the services. All right. So our quality assurance department, our property management and maintenance division that builds our facilities, our transport management and maintenance division, etc., technology branch, etc. And so all of that together give us 21 sites that we have been which have been certified. 7 of these sites were certified, were added to the scope in May for this year, and we have another 10 sites adding to the scope for audit and certification for next year. So we're rapidly rolling out and certifying the entire JCF. Now we will at that point boast the largest scope of ISO certification probably in the world when we do that. And so that is the aim that we're doing. We have not yet included a site under the scope and have not gotten it certified. And we'll continue that journey. So this is where we talk about our quality management system and the consistency of the delivery of service and things. Where technology is concerned, so we have spoken about our people, spoken about our quality, and now we're looking at our technology, and that will complete our whole transformation journey. And so in technology, we have 4 main programs, 4 broad programs, and we talk about programs in the sense of project management. And so, you know, a program is a collection of similar projects that deliver a common service, basically. And so the 4 projects are our expansion of our technology infrastructure, which is really our backend, our servers, our microwave, our network facilities and stuff. We have probably one of the most sophisticated technology infrastructure in Jamaica, well, certainly in the Caribbean. We have our own microwave network, a very sophisticated and expensive network that covers the entire country. We use satellite. We are expanding our P25, which is our radio network, to cover, and we have the latest public safety, which is a radio network, public safety radio network, the latest version that exists anywhere, from the provider, one of the highest recognized provider in public safety radio communication. And so these are things that we have. These are not wish lists. And these figures you see there are monies spent over the last 3 years in these things. And these are in billions. So once we have our infrastructure, we now need to secure our infrastructure, which is where our cybersecurity posture program comes into place. So some of these programs include our baseline security, our disaster recovery data center, and so. So we have to secure that to ensure that the data that goes on, the data that is transmitted across this infrastructure gets to who it is supposed to get to, and only who it is supposed to get to. And access can only be had by who is so authorized. So once we have our infrastructure and we have secured our infrastructure, now we need to put our software that this is what now deliver the service. So things that people usually see and interact with, so which is your things like our case management system, station records management system, etc. And these are the things that automate your business process, your business processes. And then the fourth and very important program under technology is our staff development. Right, so we have invested heavily in the training of our staff, not just our technology experts, but also the users of technology. So things like awareness of implication of data security and stuff like that, and how to use the tools that are given to you. So heavy investment in that as well. So we believe that these 4 programs and all these projects will get us where we want to go, where technology is concerned. So far, we have completed 19 major projects, 19 of the 39 projects that we're currently working on. And these projects are not delivering new capabilities. These are expanding on the capabilities that we have. For example, we spoke about our radio, P25 radio communication. We have the project include adding more sites, more cell towers for our radio network and stuff like that. So we've completed 19 of those. We have an estimated budget at an estimated budget of 3.6 billion. And here these are some of the projects under this. The microwave network upgrade or computer-aided dispatch. And the computer-aided dispatch is really that tool that allows us to, the computer-aided dispatch is a tool that allows us to stay within our police emergency communication center and have visibility on our deployed asset so that we can determine the best asset to respond to a call for service, thereby reducing response time and stuff like that. Again, these are very sophisticated tools that we have. All right, so we have 20 ongoing projects at an estimated cost of 6.7 billion. And some of the major projects that we're working on now is our Amber Connect. All our operational vehicles are tracked and we are able to see all operational vehicle once it's whether it's moving or stationary and stuff through Amber Connect. And we use it to monitor not just our deployed vehicles, because you have deployed vehicles that are vehicles that are out there at work. You know, so a vehicle is on patrol, that's a deployed vehicle. But then you have service vehicles that are used for other things other than patrol, but those are also monitored. And so vehicles that are stationary, moving, whatever, we can track those, we can geofence them. But not only that, most importantly, we can look at driver behavior. And so these give alert when we set criteria for alerts. And once these criteria are met, then an alert is sent up, and when we get 3 alerts for undesirable behavior, then we intervene, and we do that to prevent accidents and so far. We've seen a reduction in service vehicle accidents since we start monitoring that, because most of what we've learned from this, we've seen most time you have an accident, there's so many activities that are antecedents to the accident. And so the alert will show you a sudden brake, a sudden sharp right, a sharp left, and stuff like that. And so these are signs that tell you that, listen, you need to intervene with that driver before he destroys the vehicle. So it helps us to maintain our mobility and stuff. And these are just some of the projects. I've spoken about these already. The C5, our C5 is a sophisticated, a C5 is a sophisticated command and control tool. It's not just software, it includes software, hardware, signals, etc. And let me give an example of what a C5 is. It's a facility with tools in that facility where certain sensors are terminated. So for example, the Jamaica Eye cameras are there. These Jamaica Eye feed have license plate recognition capabilities, and that can identify a license plate that is of interest or owned by someone which is of interest, but then that database where that person is on exists right there as well. So all the information about everything that you want relative to what you do, you can get it right there. And I'm going to illustrate it a little bit more when I get to that slide. I'll soon wrap up, almost finished. Now, we also have a program which is our fully equipped police officer. It's called a smart police officer. And here what you're seeing on the screen is an example of a deployed police officer today. What you may not see much of is that yellow thing on our waist, which is a taser. But we don't have a lot of them now. Less lethal, and we're looking at getting them. But things like body-worn cameras, you know, you would have heard a lot of talk in the media about body-worn cameras, and we need to get body-worn cameras. And so one of the things that we try to get persons to understand is that implementing body-worn cameras for an organization with an operational strength of over 8,000 persons. 14,000 members in the sworn members in the organization, but persons who are actively out there in operation is about 8,000. Body-worn cameras capture images and videos. These are huge resource demanding data. It means therefore pinning a body-worn camera on someone without the back-end support, somewhere to stream that data, somewhere to store that data, doesn't make sense. And that's one of the things that was attempted a couple of years ago. And so when someone compare a JCF with a security company with 20 or 30 security guards, you can easily pin some cameras and put a computer on side and it can handle that. It's not the same thing when you have 8,000 persons. So we have to build the appropriate, we're talking about billions of dollars of infrastructure in order to ensure that the body-worn cameras, when you put them on, that we can secure that data. Bear in mind that these cameras capture data that may become of evidential value in court. And so we have to be very careful. It can't be a case where we take a camera off and upload it on one computer, turn it off and then upload it. We have to have a central server, central data center and thing. Now, because that is so, our first 3 years were spent in building out that. And much of what you've seen earlier, we talk about the programs under the infrastructure. We build out our servers, expand our microwave network. It is in an effort to ensure that when not only body-worn cameras, but like body-worn cameras, when you pin body-worn cameras on your officers, then the data that is created by these cameras can be secured. And so you won't have issues in the court where an incident that occurred 2 years ago, you hear that the camera feed that existed can no longer be found. Things like that will happen when you don't have your infrastructure and you put them on individual computers. Later on, a computer has a virus or whatever, and you stop using that computer, that data goes. And so that is it. So we have to just be focused, even whilst persons exercise impatience at times. And there's a lot of school of thought, a lot of idea around why the delay, even with the explanation. People say, okay, you're delaying it because you're doing something wrong and you don't want people to see. It's far distinct from the truth. Right? So we have smart devices as well that allows us to interrogate our databases, including wanted persons, and I'll show you an image of that. We spoke earlier about our license plate recognition capability cameras, and it's just the slides from now are just some screenshot examples of some of the tools that we have. So this is our bail monitoring system. So when persons are out on bail, we are able to monitor them. It fully automate this aspect of it. People reporting on conditions. So persons, unlike in the past where that is written in a book and nobody actually goes through the book each day to see who should turn up. And so that the person doesn't, the person breaches bail condition only when when some event causes you to see that. Now our system tells you that John Brown, who was supposed to report today, hasn't reported, and so it becomes so this is one of the things that this tool does. Here's a screenshot of our case management and station records management system that we're rolling out right now as we speak right across the country. Manages our investigation case file, take reports of citizens when they come into the station, and eventually this is what will help us to remove those station diaries, those big books from the station. Here we have what we call, I think this is the incident management, and this basically is a software tool that is used to capture incidents and generate things like our crime reports and stuff like that. but also feeds into a case management system. So an incident, when it's ready to be investigated, can now be imported into case management system, and that link is there. It's an I think this is a screenshot of the another screenshot of the bail monitoring system. It's a screenshot of our gang database that manages gang, categorize them in different tiers, put them in particular order, and run. It allows you to do some sophisticated analysis on the gangs and look at similarities that even you who enter the data may not realize, but the system analytics capability allows you to identify these trends. I think it's another screenshot of the gang database. And I think this is our geographic information system, and I want to speak a little bit about this. This is a tool that has been developed locally by our own members, our GIS department, and I must say our GIS department won with the plaque. A few years ago, our GIS department was the recipient of an award, an international award for not just the use of GIS, but for using GIS to build tools. And so this is a tool that is used to monitor. It is a tool that looks at crime data over geocoded map, but not only crime data, it can overlay several geocoded layers on this. So you can overlay crime data with probably hospitals, victimization of injuries, whatever interesting thing can be done, and all of that can be shown over the geocoded map, and it even allows you to look at do cluster analysis and heat sense map and all of that. So, and these are things that have been developed internally, what we use every day to analyze. Here, I spoke about the Amber Connect earlier. It's just a screenshot of what the Amber Connect looked like, where we monitor our vehicles right across. And so if you look at the dashboard below, it shows you, for this example here, it shows you, it gives you everything about the vehicle. The ignition is on. It has been in operation for 42 minutes, moving at 63 miles per hour, etc., etc. And every one of those orange with a number, orange shapes with a number, represent vehicles. And as you zoom closer, then it breaks it down into the individual vehicles rather than just a number. And so you can actually watch a vehicle moving on screen and interact with it and stuff. So all vehicles. Now we spoke about our C5. Again, I tried to explain the C5. This is what our C5 will look like, and this is a true image of our actual facility that is being built out. It's not yet complete. And so to your left, what you see are all the tools, our drone, our bail monitoring and other databases, our body-worn camera, information coming from our service vehicles and the Jamaica Eye, and all of that feeds into our C5. And so a use case on our C5, a common use case in our C5 would be, for example, a person face might be picked up by a facial recognition camera, but that person is also driving a vehicle where the license plate recognition camera picks it up and knows that it is the owner of it is someone who is a person of interest, and so it can interrogate that database for that license plate and match it with the person of interest, and then match the driver of that vehicle with that person of interest as an associate, and give you that association that you didn't know, and then send you an alert and say, hey, you may be interested in this. So that's one of the use cases of a C5. So without having boots on the ground and knowledge of this individual and this vehicle and all of that, the tool itself can pull all of these things for you and send alert and say, you may want to look at that. And so this is just one of the use cases of a C5. Um, Here, our concept of connected cop is similar to what I explained earlier, where access to all of this is given not only in the vehicle, but to the police officers and the beat officer patrol on the ground. Now, we are at this point now because we have spent the last couple of years building our infrastructure in order to accommodate all these things. So we're in the process of doing that. Now we have received and deployed over 3,000 of our smart devices since the start of the year, and we're procuring more. We have procurement of over 4,000 computers and smart devices that we're at the final stage of that procurement process. And so eventually, you know, most, if not all of our officers will be so equipped when they are out there. We spoke about the ability, remember I mentioned earlier, I said I'll show you, to identify wanted persons. So this is a mobile app that we have called Sentinel. And what it does, it allows persons who are being stopped, for example, the issuance of a traffic citation. Because currently, and in the past, we have had persons who are wanted, but yet since they have been wanted, they have been issued traffic tickets in other places. And so we are fixing that problem. And so once a person is stopped, we can use that whatever information we give. And whilst we check on information on your vehicle, we can also interrogate things like our wanted person database, missing person database, etc. And it sends back an alert right there and stuff. So the aim is to narrow the worlds of these persons who, you know, want to roam free, wanted in one side of the country and take their deal in another side and stuff like that. So we're hastily rolling out this. This tool has been completed, tested, and in the process of implementing as we speak. All right, I think I can skip this. It's just basically a timeline of where we are. You know, where we started off with CCTV. It's really just a continuum of our progression towards moving to more sophisticated tools. So for example, here was many years ago, we were using CCTV, we're still using CCTV. Then we introduced body-worn cameras. But the footage from these we need to make sense out of it. And so we have to incorporate things like video analytics. Video analytics is that tool, that analytical tool that can pick out a red car that is in a particular area that is of interest and stuff. So it analyzes images and videos and stuff like that and say. But also in addition to that, so we have that. Then we evolve. I wouldn't say evolve. The next stage that we have, because all of these are still relevant, we have moved from them. But the next stage was to have things like license plate, automatic license plate, readers capability. And then once all of that is in place, what we're now looking at moving towards what we call predictive policing. How do you utilize all this tool to guide you as to where and what may happen next, and where it may happen next. But for that to happen, we have to have the consolidation of all of that in one place, like the C5, which is what we call our data orchestration, right? And it goes into our C5 or to the extreme right is where you find it. So this is where we are on the continuum, and sorry. Right. And so in the move towards predictive policing, you know, in the past, a number of attempts at predictive policing rest solely with the idea of looking at historic data and look at trend and then determine that's where things will happen. But then in any predictive tool, you must assess the tool for its accuracy and its effectiveness. However, when it predicts something and you deploy resource there, what is predicted may never happen because the deployed resource changed the situation. And so the prediction measurement will say it didn't happen. And so the accuracy may fall. And so these are some issues with previous attempts at predictive policing and predictive analysis. Right? However, we factor things like facial recognition in addition to analysis of data. For example, so we analyzed all the data and it told us that on a Friday, usually in Tree along Constant Spring Road and the shopping centers usually have a robbery and people usually rob jewelry or whatever. So the data tells you that. But if you put police there and it doesn't happen, then you say the prediction isn't. So the accuracy of the prediction is questioned. But then to improve that prediction, things like facial recognition, we add that to it. And so in addition to the data, your camera may pick up someone's face that is checked against a database and realize that the person has come to police attention more than once for robbery. And it's a Friday and he's found walking. The camera pick him up around the area where they usually rob people. And so the accuracy of your prediction increases there using this tool. Right? And so we're moving. So we have all of these tools so far where we speak about, but then there are other tools now that can add to that to improve your predictability, which are situational awareness tools and things. And as we move towards AI and natural language processing, which is another area. So this is where we're moving towards making sense of all of that data the moment we complete our operation, with for our C5. And so, justices of the peace, in the 15 minutes you gave me, I must apologize for going a minute over.
Commissioner, please. It has been very informative. If you should see the chat, you'll see our JP saying that we need 4 hours instead. So they have been engaged. No need for apologies. We'll welcome the information. It's a lot, but what I found fascinating, I'm certain the rest of the Justice of the Peace found fascinating, is how technology is playing a very critical role in giving support to the police in their fight against illegal activities, for want of a better word. I myself did not know that technology was so deeply being utilized in the force. And so we are happy for this outline that you have presented us with and the direction in which the JCF is going in order to have better gains in the future in its fight against crime. Now, there are a few questions in the chat, and we're hoping to take a few of them, and we're hoping that Commissioner, you'll be able to assist us with answering some. I'm going to start with an individual, JP, who said, how does individual 40 and over can join the force? And another question is, how will rapists be handled? Does the Wanted Persons Act track these individuals? If not, would the public be informed, or how would the public be informed? So 2 questions while I check the chat for raise hands. 40 and over, can you join the force at the age of 40?
Not really in the regular sense, in the regular stream. I think the age limit is 30. Have to be under 30. And when there are exceptional circumstances, like for example, there is a specific skill set or expertise that we require at that point in time, then consideration can be given to persons over 30, but not at the age of 40. But however, um, there are many opportunities for persons from time to time to serve the organization, but not necessarily a sworn member. So, for example, we have many lawyers who are members of the organization, but they're unsworn members and stuff. And in cases like those, age, and especially when you come with that particular type of expertise, age is not a factor. But what is required, the training that is required, what is required to operate as a police and prepare you for police, there has to be a age limit. In terms of rapists, any person, when we talk about wanted person, we're talking about persons who we need to put before the court for whatever reason. It would like the rape. I think probably you may talking about a convicted sexual offender and the need to alert individuals that a person is a sexual offender. Currently, we don't have that data on the database for that tool, that Sentinel to access. I think, but if the person commits a rape and is alleged to have committed a rape and the investigation is at a point where we can arrest, then certainly the person will be on the system.
Okay, thank you for that. I have Annie Cunningham. Your hand is raised. Can you let us try and unmute you and you can pose your question? Mr. Hofstede, can you unmute Miss Annie Cunningham? Miss Cunningham, when you join, please identify which parish you're commissioned as a JP in before you pose your question.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, my name is Annie Cunningham. The question I wanted to ask.
Which parish are you commissioned as a JP in?
I'm from St. Andrew.
You're commissioned in St. Andrew. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
It was okay. The same question somebody just asked me, and I don't know, somebody put it in the chat at the same time about the joining at 40, because I was telling them about if you were professionals or something, you could have joined it. So he answered it already. The commissioner, Dr. Blake, answered it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, so in the chat, I think it's Upton. He's asking, are you planning to acquire at least one helicopter to do aerial coverage in real time if the criminal is eluding the law enforcers?
If it were up to me, I would have had more than one, but what we're doing though is investing in our drone program, which is we do have drone capabilities that we use, but we also are in the process of building a more comprehensive, sophisticated drone program. We haven't bought additional drones yet because our procurement of the resource must be informed by the program that we're developing. And we're in a very advanced stage of that. Drones can get the job done, what you just described, without necessarily helicopter. And much more useful where that is concerned. Sometimes you're doing that type of work, you don't want to make a loud announcement. And so helicopter hardly can be discreet where that is concerned. We have drones that can spend probably as long a time as a helicopter would spend and travel, very large distances and stuff. So it's more the drone that we're looking at than it is the helicopter. Our helicopter need would be more for transporting people.
Okay, understand. There are 9 persons with their hands raised. I'm not certain why I'm not seeing them. So while I try to identify those persons, I'm going to read another question in the chat. They're asking, with regards to the ICT projects, will anything be done concerning the speed guns that are being tampered with by unscrupulous members of the force to produce a higher reading?
It's talking about, are we talking about speculations, narratives that we hear out there, or are we talking about things that, evidential things that, because I've not heard anything like that, but not only that, not only have we not heard, I don't know where that question comes from, because our speed guns, we didn't buy speed guns from anywhere else other than where the other police forces in other places in the world have bought their speed guns. Nobody makes speed gun that can be tampered with, else the court would not accept anything coming from the speed gun. If that were possible, then a defense attorney would have brought the entire thing into disrepute long ago, and it wouldn't have been accepted in court. Not only that, there is a mandatory calibration of the speed gun every time, and a record is kept at that every single time, and if it is not done, it cannot be used out there. And so not sure where the question is coming from.
Okay.
And if that, I've never heard any, I don't know that that is possible with our gun, with our speed guns as we speak. I mean, a lot of people argue about, I've seen persons argue about who the gun was pointing at when they, and it's radar, not gun. Sorry, let's not use this speed radar. Who the radar was pointing at when they were stopped. But these radars that we have, what we have, the new ones that we are buying now, we had some older ones that we still use, but not many. But the ones we use now actually shows the video, the footage, sorry, the image of the vehicles, and it puts a ring around that vehicle with the information on the vehicle. And so when persons argue sometime, then you can show them the vehicle, the radar. Now, every time a matter goes before the court, and if it is going to be tested, any defense attorney choose to test that. What the court is going to ask is the information around the calibration of that radar. And so it's a mandatory that they calibrate those radar every morning before they leave, and they have to, and that calibration, that record has to be in some register.
Yes.
Some register.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much, Commissioner. I'm seeing Jose Gordon. I hope I'm pronouncing your first name properly. Your hand is raised. Mr. Hofstad, please unmute that person's mic. Okay, I'm not certain what is happening there, so I'll move on until the mic can be unmuted. Karine Edwards. Can you go ahead and unmute your mic?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Karine Edward, Commission in Kingston. I think that was an error though, and not
Okay, perfect.
hand raised. My apologies.
That's fine. That's fine. Carl Archer.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Commissioner, good evening.
Good evening.
I didn't hear before about the matter of tampering with the speed guns, but as you indicated that they are calibrated each day, I'm just wondering if they're calibrated every morning. Wouldn't it be possible for it to be also calibrated on the street? Is that possibility likely?
Calibrated on the street. I'm not sure I understand the question. I don't know if we have the same idea of calibration. Calibration is to check the machine to ensure that the machine is working the way it is supposed to work.
Oh, so it doesn't mean any kind of adjustment
No, they
to
can't. They
the
can't
system of
adjust
recording?
anything. No, listen. If you're making us, just put yourself in the seat of a manufacturer of a device that is used by the police that produces data that goes before the court, and ask yourself the question: would I make a system where the use of that system can change what is speed? And the answer will be no. So nobody can tamper with it like that. Calibration means just imagine you have an electronic tape measure. You want to ensure that when the tape measure, the light is pointed from point A to point B, it is a foot. For some reason, anytime, based on what is happening, or a better example is your touch screen. In the early days when we used to just have touch screen, now every touch screen is on every device, every phone. But when we just start having computers with touch screen, you have to calibrate that screen. You have to tell the screen. You have to touch the different corners to tell the screen where is the right corner, where is the left corner, where is that. So that's what calibration is. You check the weapon, you check the radar to make sure the radar is functioning properly. And if it's not functioning properly, then you have to, redundant that and get it adjusted. So it's not a matter of calibration. Doesn't mean okay, I'm gonna change 50 miles per hour to 75 miles per hour. So when you say 50 miles, when you're traveling 50 miles, the gun is going to show 75. That's not possible.
Okay, thanks to our commissioner. Just one final follow. I was thinking more in line if whether, for example, the JCF nationally would have codes or passwords that maybe one or two individuals will be able to do adjustments to the systems, perhaps at a higher level, and then others could perhaps, by some means, access those codes.
I don't know. We're talking about numerous systems. What are we talking about? So if you're talking about a database system, you have various levels of access. Various levels of access. You have access that users have. You have access that super users have. So for example, you have a case management system and you're entering an incident and there's a road that you need to pull from the drop-down list box and that road doesn't exist. That user can't create a road. So you have to get a super user and administrator, and that administrator goes on the system, create that road, and then you can use it. So every system that exists is secured, not only with our VPN, but is also secured with username and password. And just as your email have a username and password, and if you take your username and password and type and write it on a sticky pad and paste it on your monitor, then whoever come and have access to that monitor and that sticky pad will access your system and can do whatever. So it is important to protect your username and password. I'm not quite sure where the questions are going. Not quite sure, but I'm searching to see if there is some information we have about something that is happening that you have noticed, some unscrupulous thing that you've noticed. Why these lines of question? Not quite sure.
No. The answers are appreciated, Mr. Commissioner. I was just following up because I had not heard prior to this of any tampering. But since the question was asked, I was just following up to see whether there's something I'm obtaining on that. But the answers are appreciated. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks much.
Okay. So Commissioner, as you're aware, well, as we speak, we still have 570 JPs online with us, and I'm going to be taking one more raise hand, but we also have 175 JPs live on YouTube. And so there are two questions that I wanted to pose to you from the YouTube. The first one is, why is it that young persons who join the force with degrees are not given an extra increment? And the second question is, why it is that police officers can be on the job for over 20 years without promotion? What are your thoughts on those two questions, Commissioner?
All right. So first of all, the first one, I don't know if you realize that the Jamaica Constabulary Force have probably one of, if not, the largest number of tertiary qualified persons. We have persons joining the organization as constables, every batch as constables in training. We have most of our police officers, and a number of our police officers who are serving have gone ahead and got themselves qualified with degrees. And so the days when a degree is novelty in the organization has far gone. We have several persons in the JCF who are PhDs. There's one, Dr. Natalie Palmer. I was on our supervisor and our PhD panel. Very impressive. So we have a number of persons at the advanced stage of qualifying. So it's not a novel thing for you to have a degree. It's a norm. It's a norm within the JCF. However, whilst you're serving, if you go and get your degree, it's an automatic increment, and that happens. Once you complete your degree, not only do you get an increment, your taxes that you have paid are refunded, right? And you get an increment and things. So that exists. I'm trying to remember the second. Person spending 20 years without being promoted.
Yes.
We operate an organization with a pyramid shape. And there's always more persons qualified for a post than the number of posts available. And so, you can't, so that's one thing. The next thing is a person's years of service only can't be the criteria for promotion. We've had persons with 20 years of service that have not been promoted and rightfully should not be promoted. Promotion is a demonstration of readiness. So promotion is not the incentive, the personal gain from promotion to the individual is secondary. The primary is to ensure that the organization have the appropriate supervisory and management structure. If someone for 20 years hasn't demonstrated that they can sufficiently manage themselves, then you can't put them to manage people by virtue of the number of years.
Yes.
That said, however, I don't want to not do justice to persons who have found themselves in situations like unfairly, because there are some persons who, for one reason or the other, the system really, they really and truly should have been promoted, but for whatever reason, they were not. Sometimes there are various issues that cause that. Right? We have systems. I mean, for the past 2 weeks, I've been doing career reviews. So we have a process where persons like those can apply for a career review, and they don't have to go through their commanding officer if they believe that the commanding officer is probably one of the problem, and they come directly to the commissioner of police. And I since I'm commissioner, I've seen every single one. But sometimes it is delegated, but I've never delegated any. I've seen everyone that has asked for career review. And I must say, some of the career reviews you see where that person certainly should have been promoted. Don't know why, but certainly, but somehow something went wrong. With the best of system that you have, you're going to find glitches and issues, and it happened. But I've had persons sitting in front of me. If I were there, I would not have asked for a career review. And so the years of service alone isn't sufficient. And so sometimes when you be a person on the outside, seeing someone for 20 years and 30 years and not be promoted, the question should first be asked. The question should first be asked about the individual and not necessarily the organization, because the system works.
Thank you, Commissioner. So 2 more questions from the YouTube chat. Shirley Douglas, she says, developing technology to make the officer's job easier is great, but some officers are rude, abusive, verbally and physically, especially the young ones. How will you do about this? What will you do about this? That is one. And the other from the chat, from Patricia Salmon, I want to know if the school resource officers received specialized training, particularly in working with or managing maladaptive behaviors of children. Those 2 questions from the chat. First one, making a complaint that the officers, the young ones, seem to be rude and abusive, and whether the officers who are assigned to the schools, if they receive special training to treat with the maladaptive behavior of children.
Okay, cool. So great questions. Let me take the first one first. I've been in the organization for 22, going 23 years, and I've never seen a time where I've gotten, or the High Command has gotten so many reports of police behaving professionally. Notwithstanding that, we have had our reports of a few deviants. We have had those reports. Those, if you put, I tell people all the time, you put any 10 persons together, you're going to find amongst that 10 someone with behavioral issues that are not desirable, and that is going to happen. We are not tolerant of bad behavior, period. And not being tolerant isn't sufficient. I'll tell you, you ask the question, what are we doing? Not being tolerant is not sufficient. We're not tolerant of bad behavior. But we have to understand an organization with close to 18,000 persons in our society, with such rich cultural dynamics. For me to sit here as a commissioner of police and say there's going to come a day when there's a policeman who will stop you and isn't rude, then I'd be naive, because that possibility will exist. The thing is, I must say, and I say that without apology, that policeman doesn't characterize the JCF, isn't what the JCF represents. What I find happening a lot is an interaction like that dominates public narrative. And the emails I would get, the WhatsApp message I get, the calls I get about the professionalism of the police is silent. And that is a fact. And so, of course, a single incident like that isn't tolerant. But we have to, especially here, we as justice of the peace, we have far more connection and access to the police than the average person. Need to carefully assess the narrative and marshal it. I tell people all the time, if you know about bodywork and spraying of cars, if you go to buy paint, red paint to spray a car, in mixing that paint They put white in that paint. White is in that paint in order to get that color that you want. But nobody calls it, when the car is sprayed, nobody calls it white car. It is still a red car. Likewise, the JCF. When you have an organization that is predominantly professional and you do have elements of antisocial and bad behaving members, there's no way those members should be what characterizes the JCF. What are we doing about it? A whole lot. Right? I've gone through a long session, it could have been much longer, speaking about our training and where we are with our training. And we have seen the evidence of that manifested on the road today. Not only that, our ISO 9001 certification that looks at service delivery. There are some, our processes and our monitoring mechanism for those under the scope requires that we can't deliver service a week before ISO 9000 audit. We have to do it consistently. And so these things that we're putting in place are the things that are going to move, that are moving the organization into that professional force that Jamaica desire. When we get there, are we going to have a force with everybody with halo and wings? Of course not. Of course not. And that's why when you do an ISO audit, you will get non-conformity. You will have incidents of policies and procedures that are not followed. You get a non-conformity and you need to do corrective action. Right? But it doesn't prevent you from recertifying, from being recertified or from maintaining your certification, because the car is red, it's not white, because you have a little white in it.
Yes.
I think those are the two questions.
Right. We have, so I'm going to give you 3 questions and try and identify 2 more persons in the chat with their hands raised. One person asks a question: does the JCF have a reserve capacity? I'm not certain in terms of if they're referring to the number of police, and if you have police or office personnel that are in a reserve status, that in any event of emergency that you can call, and I'm assuming that is the type of question that they're asking. And the other one is asking, what happened to the Island Special Constabulary Force? If there is any answer to those questions. While you're contemplating it, I'll quickly slip in Patrick Ferguson. He's inquiring. We would have made mention, well, you would have made mention in your presentation about the infrastructure that are coming on board and across the parishes. He's asking, does this new infrastructure build out seek to address the overcrowding and dingy accommodation of the detention centers? So 3 questions. Does JCF carry a reserve capacity? What is happening with the Island Special Constabulary Force? And whether the new infrastructures that are coming on board, if they seek to address the overcrowding facilities at the detention centers.
All right, so in answering the first question, I just want to give you the assurance that if there is demand for a type of response, as we've seen in the past, I think by now Jamaica would have been convinced of our capacity to treat with issues and challenges. I'm not going to stay here and say what my capacity is, my reserve capacity is. But yes, we can respond when necessary. We do have capabilities, and we have seen it before. I mean, prior to Tivoli, a number of persons talk about the gunmen have more capacity than the state and all sorts of things. And a very small percent of the state's capacity was shown. And so, you know, this idea that a man walking around with 2 rusty AK-47 and have to be begging some money to can overpower a state agency. Again, as justices of the peace, these are some of the fallacies I want to dispel from your mind and just give the organization, the security forces, both the military and the JCF, the respect that we can respond if the country requires us to respond. If there's a situation that requires us to respond, we can respond. And we don't have to count and tell you all the capabilities we have to do that. Just give us the benefit of the doubt that we can. Today, I've deployed, along with the JDF, a number of persons into Haiti to assist in the situation in Haiti as we speak. And Haiti is not Jamaica. So we have provide support in many occasions right across the Caribbean, especially in things like disaster recovery and stuff like that. So yeah, we do have a capacity. The next question is the ICF. The ICF was disbanded 11 years ago and merged with the JCF. So there's no longer an ICF. All the members of the ICF are now JCF members, and that has happened since 2013. And then the final question, remind me.
The detention center facilities, they're saying they're overcrowded, and so with the new infrastructure coming on board, if they will assist.
Yeah, certainly with every new facility that we build, we make accommodation for our lockups and our detention. And we have projects as we speak looking at refurbishing some of these. I mean, as justices of the peace who have gone out there and see what exists, I'm sure aware of the challenge that we have with some of these dated old infrastructure and things. So these are some things that this is an area that is extremely critical and vital, and something that we have a discussion at the highest level. I mean, every opportunity we get, which includes building new lockup facilities and even exploring the idea of having that responsibility outside of police. So yes, we're looking at that. That every new facility that we build we have built within it as well appropriate lockups.
Okay, it is now 8:02. We do need to wrap up, but I want to get to a few persons who would have raised their hands. We still have 532 now JPs with us on the platform. So they're quite interested in still hearing and what you have to say, Commissioner, and to put questions to you. Bishop O'Neill Russell, your hand is raised. We're going to try to unmute you. Can you pose your question? Bishop O'Neill Russell. While we're waiting on Bishop Russell, Gay Clunis. Gay Clunis. No. Let us move on to Livingston Burnett.
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
Commissioner, I just wanted to, your presentation was beyond mind-blowing from where I sit.
Thank you.
I'm very heartened to know that we have a JCF with the capacity that you've tried to allow us to grasp in such a very short time. But you just mentioned something which is very topical on everybody's mind at this time in Jamaica. The deploying of members of the JCF. Well, you are in charge of the JCFs, so let's just stick to the JCF to Haiti. And the question is, Jamaica has so many problems locally now. How is it that we are deploying persons elsewhere, and it seems as if hell is breaking loose in Jamaica? How do you respond to something like that?
I gladly respond to that. The first thing I want to say to you is that hell is not breaking loose in Jamaica. As we speak, we are 17% down in murders and 14% down in all major crime. We are back at 2014 level, which is one of the lowest levels that we've seen in recent times. We are challenged with some violent individuals who seek to cause harm and maim, and we are assiduously moving at them. So I wouldn't describe it as hell is breaking loose. Words have very powerful meaning and things. So that's one. Secondly, if you look at the United States as an example, a number of interventions that they would make in other states in order sometimes to protect the state itself. Haiti is in very close proximity to Jamaica. A destabilized Haiti is a risk to every nation state close by. Haiti has one of the largest, if not the largest, population in the Caribbean. And so sometimes, we have to basically think outside of the box. We have to be proactive, and we have to be part. This is a multinational effort, of which the region is a very significant player in this, and Jamaica is a significant player in the region itself. You have countries as far as Kenya that are coming over to assist, where the risk to them is far less than it is to us. We have a phenomenon, I'm sure you would have heard by now, the term drugs for gun, where drugs is taken into Haiti and gun comes to Jamaica. For years, we've been struggling with that, and that is when you had a far more stable Haiti. Yet, a lot of the guns that are on the street today, killing our citizens, is as a result of this trade coming out of Haiti. So we have to take a 360-degree around the issue of crime and violence and public safety. And we will not achieve that by focusing solely here and ignoring the external threats out there. And so whatever it is to assist a neighbor state where its destabilization poses a threat to your own society, then it is in your interest. So we could either send a handful of police there to assist, or we sit and wait until we need a couple handful of police to treat with the problem when it hits our shores. And so that is how we reason that.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and I hope that all of us here on this platform would have taken some of that so that we can share it among our community members to reassure them of the whole reasoning and thing about us going to Haiti. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
You're most welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you. We have March Murray. Can you go ahead? March Murray. We can move on to R. Walker.
Hello, good night, everyone. My name is Rohan Walker. I'm from St. Andrew. Thank you very much, Commissioner Blake, in relation to the presentation. I want to backtrack on something that you mentioned before in terms of the sexual crimes registry. Given the the role that the police and JPs play in communities. One, is there a reason why there is not a registry, or the police and JPs don't have access to such a registry? You can correct me if I misunderstood what you were saying, and that's the first question. And the second one is in relation to so I like the implementation, as everyone is saying, in terms of how the police is transforming itself in implementing new technologies, etc. The whole issue of the body worn cameras. I know that at some point there was some initial need, and there's a process, and I understand all of that process in terms of what you said. It can't just be willy-nilly just incorporated just like that. But similar to how that process has started with the body worn cameras, and we can even foresee the value that will add. Is there any thought to having anchor bracelets for persons who are on bail, that they can be tracked, and it's not a simple situation where a judge is saying to the person, say, hey, don't leave this community or don't leave this parish, and also reporting to police with police station with a book. Is there any plans afoot? I don't know if this is within the remit of something you can respond to. If there's any plans afoot to also look at technologies such as that can also aid in tracking persons who are on bail.
Okay, very good question. With respect to the anklet, I'll just leave it by saying we have initiated that discussion. I don't want to say on a platform like this and give any assurance when decisions aren't necessarily made as yet. But the idea has been brought up, and we have had discussion on it, and it is something that we're seriously looking at. With respect to the sexual offenders register, I did not say we don't have a sexual offenders register. We're talking about an app, a Sentinel app, that gives access to the police to persons on a wanted person database. Wanted person are persons that are required, that we have investigated for an offense, and now we know who they are, and we're looking for them to lock them up. So that is the database. A sexual offense register exists, but it really is managed by the DCS. I mean, of course, access to that database is something that we certainly will explore, especially now that we have this tool. But the act itself allows that monitoring, but it is under the Commissioner of Correction. I don't know if there was another question. I remember those two. Is there a third? Right, those are the two questions I remember.
Commissioner, I must unfortunately bring the session to a close, and I'm going to end it with one question from the chat, and to call on Sharon Greenwood if she's able to unmute her mic to pose her question. For the chat, from the chat, it says, first, let me just say, Marjorie Walters, she says, with this new commissioner, there is hope for Jamaica. Love his presentation. Need to do this more often. And the narrative is similar throughout the chat in terms of how grateful they are to the quality of the information that they have provided to them, and they welcome your approach as a new commissioner. Could you share with us some information on the progress in relation to the forensic and crime scene investigation? Is there anything that you wish to share with us?
Yes, certainly. This is a project in which I'm personally involved. We have projectized that. The number of crime scenes that we have to process each day. Sometimes it takes a toll the crime scene investigators, and it sometimes challenges the resource, both human and material resources. I must say that it is a major part of one of our push now as we speak to properly retool them and to resource that particular section. So it is something that we have been given, that is being given significant attention. I hopefully when next I meet with the team and the group here and we speak about that, we can give you, further information on the progress of this investment.
Okay. Sharon Greenwood, are you able to unmute your mic?
Yes, I did.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Sharon Greenwood, Kingston, JP. Commissioner Blake, a good presentation. My concern is about, I know you have spoken about infrastructure and rebuilding and stuff, but I think that Bull Bay seems to be one of the forgotten places.
Where?
And Bull Bay Police Station, because of the road, it has been relocated and not really in a good place, seeing that it also service the hills, Dallas and those places. How soon will Bull Bay get a new police station and a new police station?
Right.
Seeing that there's a lot of activity and fear of violence sometimes back that side.
Certainly. Very, very, very good question. When I did the presentation, there was a slide that showed the police stations where there's approval and budget for this fiscal year. Bull Bay was one of those that were listed there. I think it was 6. I personally marshaled the proposal of Bull Bay through our PIAB, Public Investment Assessment Board, and also through our PIMC, which is chaired by the Minister of Finance, and gotten approval for it. So Bull Bay has gone through the process, the process of procurement. The challenge with Bull Bay is the decision with respect to where the station currently is. The initial plan was for it to move on a little bit on the same property, but a little closer to the sea, which at the time was believed would have still be safe, but there are some added challenges. One, the accessibility of it from persons who are eastbound, and secondly, there's some concern. There's some concern now about its proximity to the sea. And so these are some of the issues that we are looking at around Bull Bay. Why Bull Bay hasn't started yet, but I know the Minister of National Security and our Property Management Maintenance Division under our Force Development and Logistics portfolio, they are actively looking at an alternative or a solution to that. But had it not been for those issues, Bull Bay station probably would have been completed already. But I assure you that we're, putting some energy in that project, and because we know, just as you rightfully say, it is a station that is well needed, and we have to get it. We have to get the station built. So we will be looking at that very, very closely.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
then, thank you.
Thank you very much. So at this time, we really have to now say good night. We want to thank, firstly, I must express sincere appreciation, gratitude to the custos of St. Andrew, the president of the St. Andrew JP Association, Mr. Norris Rooms, in facilitating me to engage with you, Commissioner, and most importantly, Dr. Kevin Blake, your commitment and agreement to come and spend an evening with us to discuss your views on the JCF as well as the role of the police. As well as the role of the JPs. It was deeply informative. It was an eye-opening session because it also gave us a better appreciation as to how much technology is playing a stronger role in assisting the police to strategically deal with crime. We look forward to what it is that you will be bringing to further strengthen the JCF and bring the crime rate down. The comments in the chat from the JPs are all in agreement. Unfortunately, we're not able to touch on all the other questions that were posed in the chat. And a few of the hands that were raised were not able to reach them, so you could hear directly from these JPs. But we were able to get to a few. We're grateful for that. And so thanks to you, Commissioner. Thanks for making the time to spend with us this evening. We want to say thank you to the JPs who would have joined us. 666 at one point in time, 170, 175 on YouTube. I have not gotten the figures as yet on PBCJ. And as we close off, we still have 452 JPs still online and engaged with us. Thank you, JPs, for joining us. Thank you for making it a success. We appreciate it. We look forward to another virtual session with all JPs. We look forward to your engaging participation. Dr. Kevin Blake, we really thank you for your time. We thank you for the information. We thank you for your patience in answering and treating with the questions.
Thank you very much. I couldn't think of a better way to spend my evening. I must say I will be updating my resume. I've never had the opportunity to speak with such a distinguished crowd audience with such a large number, and so I think I need to go and find my resume. And thank you very much. It was an enjoyable session. I really do enjoy the interaction and the questions. I've been seeing the comments in the chat. Unfortunately, I can't respond to all of them, but for persons who have shared, there are some questions I would have loved to answer, but time didn't permit and things. So I look forward to another session at some point where we can just have interaction rather than much more of the presentation. Thanks again for the opportunity and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you, JPs. Have a great night. It is now 8:23, and I'm sure it is time for most of us to go to bed. Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.